Hi, I'm Michael with Form Kitchens, and welcome to Trading Ideas. This is a podcast series where we talk to innovative and creative thinkers in the design and build environment. Well, thanks for joining us today on Trading Ideas. I'm very excited about today's conversation with Delroy Gill. He is many things, but he is currently one half of the number one real estate partnership here in Denver. He also happens to cook the best jerk chicken in the world. But I'm excited about this conversation because every time I finish talking to Delroy, I'm charged up. I'm more excited about the work I'm doing. There's an infectious energy here that I'm excited for everyone to get to sponge off. And, you know, Delroy, I think your story is one of constant reinvention. So I want to stop talking and turn it over to you and really get the Delroy story.
Oh man, thank you. One day we'll just do a podcast just about jerk chicken, but today we'll do something else. But yeah, no. Originally from London, England, started coming to America in like 1998. So back and forth for many years because I absolutely did not like it where I planted was in Colorado, and coming from London, very much a cow town when I moved here back then in the late 90s. So had kids, had a family, and then realized the big city of London may not be for me anymore with traffic, pollution, crime, no parking, expensive, everything else that comes along with the big city. Came back to Colorado, started falling in love with it again, but had kind of been weaving in and out of the real estate market, whether it's from the marketing aspect of it. I did corporate marketing and lead generation for big box real estate companies like the
Mm-hmm.
Remaxes of the world, and then dove into actual real estate transactions in 2009 ish, and kind of was helping market, and then got my license. So dove in right as the recession was kicking in hardcore. Everyone thought I was crazy. And that was really my first step into my career that I have today, which is my career today is very different. I'm in full luxury space in real estate compared to short sales. So going from $30,000 condo sales to 9 million, $8 million home sales, very
Totally.
different
I'm
world.
made of questions. How do you go from a marketing career to, in the height of a recession, going, I'm going to start selling properties? What does that look like?
Yeah, I always had this like internal thing where I was like, I want to be in real estate and like selling houses or flipping houses. Like, honestly, since I was probably like 10 years old, my dad used to like flip houses a little bit, but more like buy it, live in it, fix it up. So I was always being told to do work on houses as well. So housing was just always in my DNA. So then when I had the opportunity, I think at the time I was like probably 19 or so. And the guy was like, yeah, you seem like you'd be good at sales. And I got this marketing company and I'm starting, do you want to be a partner? And like, you could be on the sales side of it. I was like, yeah, I want to get into real estate. This sounds like real estate stuff. I had no idea really what it was. But the good thing is he was a VP of marketing
Hmm.
at IBM before he started this company. So he really helped me hone in on like the business vocabulary and like how to, at that time, that was strictly on the phone, right? So I was selling $1,000 software lead generation uh, programming to real estate agents who really wasn't
Mhm.
that tech savvy, especially back then. So trying to kind of get them to understand what the value was, like looking back at it now, and I was like, "Nah, you did that when you were 20. Like that was pretty good. Like I could get you to give me your credit card information, see value in a website that hopefully generates some leads, and you paid for it." And I was like, thanks, sale done, and closed it on a phone call like multiple times a day, like based on his training, right? And going through that process. So I was like, I did that for I did it for way longer than I thought I would. I ended up doing that for about 8 years because the market in real estate at the time was like how it was like the last 8 years now, which was just running up and up and up and up and up. And then everyone basically started canceling all of their software, and they started canceling every website and everything and all the lead generation tools because they were either getting out of business because the
Yeah.
recession was kicking in and their own house was going into foreclosure, less transactions were happening. And I just thought to myself, wow, like I know how this software works. I know, and I train you on using it. If you use it and actually expand on it in the best way possible, then you probably would still have a good business. And if all these people are getting out, I'm going to get in. So I basically dove into real estate. I told him at the time, like, can I use all this software for free? And I want to leave the company and become a real estate agent. And he's like, you're going to the dark side. You're crazy. And I did it. I went in, I created a website for short sales, pre foreclosures, and loan modifications. And I just tweaked the branding on it and basically said, anyone that wants to do a loan modification, I will do it for
Wow.
free for you, because I was hearing all the stories of people getting ripped off on loans. So I was just saving people from losing their houses or fixing people's mortgage payments from adjustable rates, and everyone who didn't get the proper care at the time. So that was my lane. I didn't know anything else because that was my entry into real estate. I thought, what's my brand going to be? How am I going to do this? I came from a
Yeah.
marketing lens. Like, this is who I am. This is what my brand's going to be. So all of the leads I generated were only in that lane. So I did for probably 3 years straight, probably about 200 short sale transactions that were anywhere from turn time 10 to 18 months
Wow.
from start to finish on those transactions. So that was I literally only did short sales. I had never done a regular home buyer or a regular home seller ever in my life until about two and a half
I,
years
I
into
want
my
to go
career.
back to this 8 years of closing deals on the phone. Well, it reminds me of
Yeah.
like Gladwell's 10,000 hours and the Beatles playing at these small clubs in
Yes.
Germany and like honing their craft. I mean, two questions. A, how did you, and maybe it was just a gut feeling, but how did you know, hey, I should take this leap of faith and take this job? Like what told you this felt like the right move? And then B, I want to like, what were those
Yeah.
skills you learned just from close? I mean, I can't even imagine what you took away from that.
Yeah. So remember, I'm much younger, so my thought is not as profound as
Yeah.
it is today, right? So meaning I'm 20 years old and this guy says you can work from home, make phone calls, and probably make thousands of dollars. Like I was like, yeah, yeah, I'll do that. All my other friends are going to work
Yeah.
or they're
Yeah.
going to university and stuff. I was like, I don't like
Yeah.
school. School's not for me. You're going to pay me to sell these websites to these real estate agents who've got loads of money. I just have to convince them of value. And before that, I was like, I would sell like CDs. I've sold chocolate bars. So
Yeah.
I liked sales always. Like from from high school to elementary school, I'm selling
Hmm.
you
Yeah. Right.
something always, right? Sales was DNA no matter what. But going through it and I did think though at the time because I was a lot rougher around the edges at that time too in my life. So I just saw this clean cut corporate guy saying to me, "No, you could do this," and thought, "Man, if you think I can do this, I'm gonna give it a shot." Because if I can lean into your lane plus have all my sales and background that I know, but I can learn what
Yeah.
you know too, I think I could do something powerful with it. I didn't know what at the time. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna become the number one luxury agent. I just thought I'm gonna learn some stuff here. I'm gonna learn how to sell in a better way. And I'm gonna learn from someone that worked at IBM selling, which was like, oh yeah, this guy knows his stuff. So like, and the funny thing about sales is the learning portion of it sometimes is so minor, right? It's
Hmm.
changing one word in a conversation. So things like, he would always say to me, you always end a call with another call followed up, right? I used to say like, oh, okay, yeah, let me know when you want me to call you back. That's
Yeah.
incorrect sales, right? I'm giving them the power to say when this is going to go. No, completely changed it and said, hey, okay, I'll be giving you a call back on Wednesday. Does that work for you? And it's a yes or a no. And if it's a no, okay, does this day work for you then? So, now you're leading towards a sale. So all of his direction was just
Mm,
small changes, but made massive impact in how you would communicate or how you would send emails, like email structure. Today it's a lot different because we communicate in different ways, but back then email was like the texting
right.
of sales, right? It was very so even back then the way we would structure emails of like opening, very bullet pointed, like very much a clear, concise email with like like I learned about call to actions, right? Like what is a call to action? Everything should have a call to action. When you send this email, what do they do next? When there's this website page,
Right.
what are you asking them to do? When you send a text message, what are you wanting them to reply? Everything needs to have the
Right.
next call to action. And that's how you go through the sales funnel. Again, he showed me sales funnels. I had no idea what sales funnels were from, what's the lead capture? Because that's the whole process of selling websites that I did was based on, and he used to say this to me all the time. He said, Delroy, this process that I'm teaching you, I don't care if you sell cereal, cars, cell phones, cabinets, houses,
Right.
whatever it is, this works. This is from IBM's level down to small business owner, right? So the sales funnel of the top tier, the incubation, the warm up, the close. That sales funnel will work no matter what business is. You just have to make sure you've got every piece of the pie, accounted
Yeah.
for in your formula when you're baking this cake. Like, how are you doing the lead generation? What software are you using, or what methods are you using? How are you then, everyone that comes in should be always in a kind of program
Right.
systemized touch point method. That's the incubation. And then people should bubble from that incubation phase down into this warm leads phase where now you're getting them ready to be closed. And then when they get into that close phase, you need to have all of those right
Right.
communication points to get them to trust you, to know that what you're going to provide, there's accountability there and everything else, and then you can close the deal. So that formula will work in everyone's business, no matter which way. You just have to make sure you
I
filled in
love this
those
story for like a
gaps.
hundred reasons. I mean, you got a real masterclass in selling, and it was seemingly this kind of weird opportunity. I don't know. I'm going to be at home dialing for dollars, but there's this guy who was at IBM, so probably a good person to follow. I feel like this is a storyline I hear a lot in these conversations of this feels like a right opportunity. Maybe it seems a little goofy on paper, but then the output's incredible. I mean, you learn the mechanics of the sales funnel. You learn how to close things. Like then my question is, how do you go from that world where you sharpen your sword, you learn how to sell, to now you're in this real estate world where, I mean, how do you break in? Because that is such a relationship ecosystem. I don't even understand how. I mean, talk about the ultimate cold start problem where like I don't know how you even break into real estate. I mean, you clearly have the sales mechanics down, but how do you start to build a client roster?
Yeah. And all of them were like, again, that sales funnel, right? It remains true for all the businesses. So now I had that
Yeah.
foundational kind of
Right.
sales mind coming from that. And that's why I knew right away branding, marketing, sales. How does that all gonna correlate to this business? My wheels are already spinning. So again, this is some of it is
Totally.
luck and some of it is general practice, right? But I was speaking to this agent who told me, she said, Delroy, I know you don't see this now, but in this market, there's going to be these things called short sales where people's houses are going to be worth less than the mortgage. Like the prices are not going to keep going up the way they are. And she let me know that. And then I went to a training session because it said there was a training on short sales because maybe in different markets it was happening. But there was this guy, Alex Chaffman. Yes, he was the guy. He was going around the country preparing people
Wow.
for short sales. Certified distressed property expert. If you're a real estate agent, you know about this. If you don't, this is a training that when you were doing back then, you had this designation and it seemed very powerful back then, but it just told you what was happening. And I'll tell you how early I was ahead of the curve, meaning I built out that website. It was called Your Hope Team. There was no team, it was Delroy, right? But the brand, it looked like, you're going to call in. I had a Google voice set up, phone line where people could call in, leave their information there. Because I knew how to do pay per
Hmm.
clicks and everything from working at the marketing place. So set the website up. Back then, this was the marketing
Yeah.
tool that you use to break into a new space, right? So breaking in here was how I knew it to be, and I'm sure people were doing this the how I do my business today, which is Sphere and going direct. But back then, my easiest method, and this is before even social was a thing, social media, like it was pay per click advertising, do the ads, um, and you have to always think. And it was the same thing with the marketing company. And when I started doing the real estate and the short sales, is
Right.
what value are you adding to your client? Like when you're attracting them, why are they attracted to you? What was the
Right.
value in it for them? So my value proposition was I'm going to do a free loan modification for you. So I knew, and just again from business, like number wise, like learning business, that it's a numbers game in sales, right? I was like, if I do this for enough people, even though I'm doing it out of good faith and I want them to stay in their homes and I'm going to help them get their mortgage payment from 3,000 a month down to 1,500 or maybe down to 1,000, at least 20%, if not more, which it turned out to be more, are not going to still be able to afford these houses based on what is happening in the marketplace. And that's what started happening. So out of every 100 leads that I was helping and doing stuff for, 50 even followed up with like doing the consult, and then 20 of them went through the process, and then 10 of those people ended up coming back around not being able to afford their house, and they said, man, you helped me for absolutely free when no one else would. My bank wouldn't help me, no one would help me, and I now still can't afford it. Can you help me sell my house? But in the meantime, I did the loan modification for them. They were paying their monthly mortgage. I had them on drip email campaign saying, hey, I'm here for you. If you ever have any questions, if you ever need anything, I'm still here for you. I would call them, check in. Hey, how's the house going? Are you doing good with the payments? If everything's going smooth, let me know if you need any help. So just kept the follow up process going. And then once those phone calls start coming in, it was just a snowball effect. They were like, I need to sell my house. When that started happening, I was calling the banks and saying, "Hey, this person wants to sell. They owe you 300,000. The house is only worth 150. You're going to have to do a short sale and waive that $150,000, bank." And the bank said, "Shorts, we don't short. I've never heard of." That was what the
Wow.
bank told me. That's how early I was. They didn't even have short
Oh my
sale
gosh.
departments. I helped title companies and some local banks in Denver set up their short sale departments because I had that training, and they had no idea what a short sale even was. So that's how intricately I learned the process, that I was helping them set it up. And what that did is it gave me the in. So again, a little bit techie here on the real estate side, but when you're doing short sales, there's so much paperwork and so much detail involved in it, that having a connection when there's now when it goes from, oh, this isn't a thing, to, oh, this is a thing, and the
Right.
entire marketplace is flooded with foreclosed homes and people trying to sell and everything else. Well, I had the cell phone number of the guy in the back room that no one could see, right? Because I helped him set up the apartment. I was sending, when somebody called me and said my house is about to go into the foreclosure auction tomorrow, and I need to not get kicked out on the street. Can you help me? I called up the bank guy. I said, how many people are in your department? He said 20. I said, okay, great. I sent 10 pizzas to the office. Then I called him back and I said, hey, lunch is on me today. I've got a client. They need to turn this foreclosure off immediately, right now. And they would stop the foreclosure process happening before I was even like had an offer on the house and stuff. And that was what they were telling other agents, like, oh, unless you've got an offer on the house, that thing's going to foreclosure and we're selling it to an
Wow.
investor. So having connections, right? That goes throughout everyone's business, is like knowing, like that's another part of breaking in. That helped me break in and get a bigger name known for me in short sales, because you are in connection with people of
Yes.
influence. And that is key for everyone's business. Like, who do you know that can impact your business in a valuable way for your clients? Like, what is that going to look like? Like, we've done some stuff where it's like, yeah, I know that developer. It's going to work for your cabinetry. Hey, I know this concierge service. They will pack your house up for you. And when you get there tomorrow, the knives and forks and plates are gonna be put away in the closet, right? Fast forward into the luxury space. So I always make sure I know the influential people that are gonna impact my clients from a way that nobody else may normally do or think about doing. So therefore, the value that is perceived within my business that I'm running day to day is like, it's something that they can talk about, right? I'm fast forwarding, and how in the luxury space it's like, you have to, your value has to be told by that client, and they have to be your advertisement, right? I don't do
Yeah.
pay per click, I don't do ads anymore. It's like, who are my pay per click? It's the
Yeah.
client testimony, it's the client telling another client. And I don't just want them to say, oh, Delroy is the number one guy, call Delroy. It's like, why
Yeah.
is he the number one guy? Oh, do you know what Delroy did? Delroy sent my wife flowers on Mother's Day every single year for the last 5 years. Oh, those flowers are from Delroy. Oh, Delroy, when I moved house, my cups and my plates and my towels were hung in the bathroom. Like, that's why you should call him. If you don't want to do anything, he's your guy. So you have to give the reasons why they tell the story about your business, whatever business. If you're an architect, they want to know that, yeah, the way he designed this house, he thought about this thing for my family, and he'll do the same for you. And that goes from short sales to the websites to all of it. It's like, who's the influential people and what is your unique value proposition? Those two things combined will exponentially grow your business based on value in the
Totally. Once again,
marketplace.
now there's like 10 things I want to react to. One of my favorite. No, I love it.
Sorry,
I
I
love it.
was
It's a
going on.
masterclass in funnel marketing. And I think, a lot of creatives in our industry, and sometimes we don't want to think about analytics or metrics or funnels, but like, it's good to remember that that stuff is important, right? And I think a few things that also stuck out for me. I love that you created an ecosystem when there wasn't one around this short term or short sale, and then the pizza, sending the pizzas to the bank. I mean, it's not about just knowing the right people, but I think you have to show up and be a good faith operator and think about how can I create value for other people. And sometimes that is as simple as like, let me get the pizza, and that stuff matters, and people
Yeah,
remember that. And then I think the last thing that really stuck with me is, uh, don't be afraid to communicate your value, and believe in the value that you create. I know also sometimes as creatives, maybe there's a bit of humility or awkwardness in owning your value. But if you're really out there creating your value, don't be afraid of it. Own it, and lead with it, because that's your currency, right? Is
absolutely, absolutely. I learned that because, especially coming from London, much more reserved environment. I
yeah,
am an extrovert person, but still talking about myself in that way was
yeah,
not commonplace for me at all. I was the guy that when I first even started doing those short sales, it was very much like, in the first year, I was like, yeah, I did the loan modification. Like, I did my good deed. Like, I don't need to speak to them anymore. And like, it was my other peers and mentors that were, the key example that they gave me that changed, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess I better follow up and do stuff. Was he said, hey, if you have a fitness trainer and like you've been working out with him for months and months, and you've been working on your diet and everything is going well, like you just did
Yeah.
it, you hit your goal, and he's like, yeah, if he called you in like 2 months to say like, hey, how's the diet going, like are you still hitting the gym, are you gonna think like that was weird, like why did that guy call me,
Yeah.
that was a weird call? I was like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's gonna feel good, like oh yeah, I'd actually feel good about him checking on me to see how I'm doing still. So when it was broken down, and I was heavy into fitness at that time, so it was
Yeah.
a good example for me. Just like, oh yeah, I'm the real estate guy. Like I need to check on them and see how they're doing. They're gonna appreciate me calling. I used to think I was gonna be bothering them or like I was selling. Like I just never wanted to come from like a selling
Yeah.
perspective of that. And from the marketing company, that's how it was, right? It was really much sell, close,
Right.
and then it moved over to a different department. So I wasn't
Right.
doing the follow up and software management and all of that stuff then. So I had to, and this is a key thing, again, just a thread of business here, is that whatever skills, like I was very successful in that
Yeah.
marketing role, but to become successful in short sales, I had to adapt and evolve. To get successful in luxury, I had to adapt and evolve. And sometimes people can get stuck in like, oh, I do it this way. It's worked for me. Look at me. I'm doing good in business and I want to grow, but I just want to keep doing more of the same thing. It's like, no, what got you here is not essentially what will get you here. And sometimes people are scared of that change, either in the marketplace or with technology or with new tools they need to use. Like you always have to stay current with the marketplace, whichever marketplace you're in. And you have to always be analyzing what you're doing day to day, what's working, what's not working. We got a 80-20 rule in our business. If we don't use it 80% of the time,
Yeah.
that means it doesn't work. So we need to scrap it and find what works or just scrap it altogether. So we go through our business quarterly and like, oh, this form that we created for client intake, does anyone use this form? No, why not? Okay, well, we're not using it anymore, or we're going to change to doing it this way so that we're always just fine tuning and finding efficiency within our business and how we can grow and adapt it to make it the best for the client and what's best for us. Because that's ultimately what it comes down to, is whatever's working for the client works for us. We want to make sure their process is as smooth as possible. And if we're not using the tools, that
I
means they
love it.
don't.
Yeah. I think it's a good reminder for myself too. I mean, the precursor to growth is being open to growth, right? And change.
Yep.
And this actually teased me up for the final question. By the way, this has been phenomenal. It's got me thinking about a
Thank you
thousand
for
things now
having
I
me.
want to do when
Loved
I
it.
get off this call with my own work. But this idea of change and adapting. One of the reasons I like connecting with you is you seem to see around a lot of corners. Since we have a lot of people in the development world, we have architects, we have designers working on residential and commercial projects that listen to this. Are there things you're seeing right now in the marketplace that you'd want to shout out, or just interesting new trends, or yeah, what are you seeing out there?
Sure. So now, like again, the marketplace has shifted again. We just went through a pandemic. We went through COVID. There's the work from home. Everything went
Yeah.
extreme for a second, right? There was a
Right.
everyone's going to work from home. We
Right.
need
Right.
2 offices, and we're never going outside
Yeah. Yeah.
again. We need a swimming pool, and then like we need this massive backyard, and then it shifted, and everyone's like, I want to travel. I want to go everywhere in the world. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be indoors anymore. So there's extreme. So what's happening right now in the marketplace is it's fine tuning itself and coming to a new balancing point again. And the way that I would describe what I think will
Yeah.
be the ultimate balance point is, and with all there is a lot of transferred wealth and money that was made along with people still struggling a little bit in the marketplace as well. So all
Hmm.
those things are still happening at one time. But I think there are two key things that's happening. Is one, I think health and
Mm,
wellness is going to be a thing for a long period of time moving forward. It's the one thing that stayed
yeah.
throughout and that I'm seeing is evolving and
Uh-huh.
actually growing in the marketplace. So anything you like, we had the sustainability
Right.
kind of era that came in and has
Right.
kind of stayed through within business, and people are always trying to be more sustainable and trying to do more eco-friendly things, which has an impact somewhat on health and wellness. But now it, like, the amenities and the health and wellness part is coming back into play along heavily, by design, amenities. I just saw a social media post the other day that HGTV is making our homes
Yeah, I saw
become
that.
so boring because everyone is thinking about, like, yeah, but if I sell it, what would that next person be? And no one was living for
Right.
themselves and how they wanted to live. And I think that is what shift is coming in our marketplace. People will want smaller homes, higher end finishes, and they are going to want as many amenities in the property as they can. Things like cold plunge, saunas, steam rooms, gyms, all of those things, fresh air pumped through. And I think builders and everyone, and then there's that, and then there's the day to day function of a house, right? The reason I love your cabinets is the function of them. Stylistically, we know they're amazing,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of companies that have stylistic cabinets. But I like the inserts, the different accessories, all the little bits and pieces, the different handles and the pulls and all that stuff that you can add onto it. That day to day, until you use it and get it in your home, you won't know, right? But then when you're living with it, you're like, oh my God, I love taking the
Yeah,
fork
yeah.
out of the organizer in particular drawer. Like, those small things are what people are going to want in their homes, and that is like wellness. It's, imagine if, like, you can live in a retreat or a resort every day. That's what people want their homes to feel like. They want to feel like they're coming home and this is complete zen, and they're not like, oh, I've got this project to do and I need to do it for the next person that buys this house. I'm going to paint it gray, light gray, and keep it all neutral because the next person is going to do what they want. No, let's actually design so you love it. And yes, it is transition
Yeah.
enough for another person. You're not going to have like red walls and stuff in your house, but it is a incubation space of like health and wellness within there.
Yeah.
Indoor outdoor space is a big one. Plants. I'm seeing so many
I
people
love
love
plants.
plants
I
again.
I didn't know I love
Um,
plants.
yeah, it's a big thing. So, when is the last time though you've seen a
No,
house
totally.
that's built with plants that are based into the design, right? That type of thing doesn't happen, but that's air, oxygen, cleanliness of air. Why don't a house get built
Totally.
with a plant wall in it already? So all of these things, I think we're going to start seeing more and more. And it doesn't need to be the biggest house or the most expensive house to have some of these things incorporated into those walls. Vegetable patches, herb patches, all of these health and wellness aspects of living, I think, are going to be the
I
biggest
love it.
trends
You've
moving
just
forward.
made me realize I live in a house of unfinished projects. That's um,
That's what happens, though. It happens. Do it over time, but do it for your
I
taste.
love
That's
it.
all that
Well,
counts.
I always so appreciate these conversations. I've got like 10 things I've mentally jotted down in my head that I want to carry forward. But where should
Nice.
our audience go to get more of your sage advice? What's the best way to interact with the Delroy?
Yeah, everything I post quite a
Great.
lot on social media,
Yep.
Instagram mainly, at Delroy Gill, my first name and last name. You can follow me on there, and I definitely post a lot of short form content. Again, staying on trend of what is relevant now from a content perspective, and share there. So follow me, DM me, ask me any questions. I'm an open book. I love sharing information. So if you message me on there or want to reach out to me, I'm here to share ideas. I love the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial spirit and us trying to shape and shift and
I
make the world
urge
a better
everyone to
place.
take Delroy up on his offer. That's how I got to know him, and his content is genuinely really, really good and engaging. So give him a follow.
Thank
And
you.
I share in the same spirit. I love how collaborative this industry is and the idea sharing. And I think it all comes from a really good place of let's move this thing forward. So really appreciate the time today.
Yeah, man.
Always fun chatting, and thanks again, Delroy.